Hi everyone, I'm JP Tong. I'm now in Kechara Forest Retreat, Malaysia, and welcome to today's Thursday Paranormal Tales. As you can see today, we have Pastor Jinai here, so we'll wait a few seconds for everyone to tune in.
Sure.
Yes, and why are you laughing at me?
No reason.
Yes. So let's wait for everyone before we start. The reason why Pastor Jinai is here today is because she has a lot of paranormal experiences, so I thought it'd be something different if I can get her to share with us about her paranormal stories, perhaps. Yeah. It's a bit soft today, because the mic is not on my body. It's being shared between two of us. So if you cannot hear us properly, then just write at the comment area, and we shall speak even
Much louder.
much
Much louder.
Yeah. Hi David, hi Whoopi, hi Audrey. Thank you very much for tuning in. Hi Kirsten, thank you very much for tuning in. Julie, hello. Okay, we'll wait a few seconds before I start asking Pastor Jinai questions. Yeah, so for those of you who do not know Pastor Jinai, she actually has her own programs on Kechara.com or Kechara Forest Retreat?
Kechara Facebook fan page.
Okay, at Kechara's Facebook fan page, and that's where she gives a lot of teachings online, and also she would share with her during the lockdown about life in Kechara Forest Retreat during the lockdown. Yeah, so if you missed those episodes, do check it out. Yeah, it's pretty fun. Hi Caroline. Hi Lily. Hello. Hi Pastor Niral. Yes, we were talking about Pastor Niral. Hi Glenn. Hi Bakku. Thank you very much for tuning in again. Hi King Hoi. Oh, there's a new feature. It's Wave.
Oh, what?
You see, there's a new feature.
It's not new.
It's not new?
It's been around.
It's been around? Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought it was a new feature. Hi Eric, yay. Hello.
I mean, you don't really have to press wave. You can actually just wave.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, since you are.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's more for that functions more for people who are on the back end, so they're not actually in front of the camera. They're actually they're behind the camera, so they can help to moderate and manage the chat and wave to people on the chat by doing that. The whole.
Oh, so you're waving.
Yeah, it
oh,
will be him waving.
I thought they're waving at me. Okay. Great. All right. So yeah, thank you, Lily. Is it loud enough for everyone? Can all of you hear us, or do we need to speak louder? We'll have to wait a few seconds for everyone. I think okay, great. So we're pretty much there. So Pastor Jinai has some very, very interesting stories to tell us. There is a highway from KL from Kuala Lumpur all the way to Kechara Forest Retreat, which is Bentong. It is an hour and 15 minutes by car, and this highway is called Karak Highway, right?
Yes.
So there are a lot of interesting stories that you've heard.
Yes.
From our colleagues,
yes.
right?
Yes.
About what happened.
Yes.
So can you tell us what happened in Karak Highway? And by the way, Karak Highway in Malaysia is famous for its paranormal activities. Yeah, famous. So this is what she heard. So yeah.
So I think in one of your previous episodes you had talked about the yellow Volkswagen that speeds past you.
Yes.
And so you should never overtake it. And when you actually try to overtake it, you see that there's no driver in the car. And what I've also heard...
I've not seen that, but that's what was told. So when you see a yellow car, don't try to be funny and overtake.
Don't flash your lights.
Correct.
Don't beep your horn.
Yeah. But so far I've not seen it. So just to make that clear. So what did you hear about Karak Highway?
I mean, I've heard policemen, highway patrol policemen, telling us stories about how they don't really like going on patrol in the late hours of the night because oftentimes they will see beings sitting off the back of pickup trucks, especially like sitting there swinging in their legs. Personally, like when I was driving a friend up to Kechara Forest Retreat once, there is one part of the Karat Highway towards the Bentong Toll,
Okay.
and there is a Petronas petrol station. So she was talking all the way from KL. She was talking to me very happily and chatting away and non-stop
Okay.
for like an hour. And then about 500 meters from the petrol station, she suddenly just completely goes silent, and she doesn't say, she just stops mid-sentence and then just stops talking. So I thought that maybe she was trying to collect her thoughts. I
Okay.
didn't say anything. And then when we drove past the petrol station, I thought it was a bit weird. So because she started talking again, so I was like, hey, why did you stop talking just now? And then she said, oh, so you know that petrol station over there? When we got close to the petrol station, about 200 meters away, I saw a girl standing by the side of the road. And this girl looked disheveled. She said that she had hair that was a mess,
Uh-huh.
and her clothes were very dirty and torn. And then she said that she had seen the girl and she wasn't sure if the girl was real or not.
Okay.
But from that distance, the next thing she heard was the girl whisper in her ear, "Help me."
Oh my goodness.
So when she heard that, that's when she stopped talking mid-sentence, because
Oh.
she realized that whatever it is that she was seeing outside next to the Petronas, if you guys are in Malaysia, you know which one, the Petronas petrol station, she realized that that girl wasn't actually human. Yeah.
My goodness. So
And-
when you heard that, how did you feel?
I look at the Petronas petrol station a little differently now when I drive past it.
And what did she do? She just stopped?
She just stopped. She was going like, you know, Pastor Gina, when we get to Bentong, blah, blah, and then just complete silence, like nothing
She must be
mid-sentence.
freaking out.
Yeah. And that was like from KL to Bentong, right, in that
Yeah.
direction. And then another story that I got from the same person
Alright.
was from the Bentong down to KL direction.
Okay.
Okay, so previously I think you had mentioned one of your experiences about going to a funeral and then looking in the rearview mirror on your way home and then seeing someone there who wasn't meant to be there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was an old man
Yeah.
with alcohol breath.
Right.
Yeah.
So in this case, it was something similar. This girl was actually in the car with my sister, and they were driving from Bentong down to KL. And the girl was in the back seat with my sister's dog.
Okay.
And my sister's dog can actually see things. It's been confirmed on multiple occasions. So
What happens when when the dog sees things?
this dog will just stare in one particular spot for no reason. It could just be like a spot on the curtain, and she'll just stare and stare. And when you do like this, or you try to distract her, nothing works. Like
Oh, okay.
she's just fixated, you know.
But how do you know that she could see?
So in the Ladrang in KL, when we first brought her back, she was allowed to kind of roam and explore the ground floor.
Yeah.
And there was this one particular spot at the bottom of a flight of stairs that she would sit and she would just stare at. And then she wouldn't just stare, but she would follow something with her eyes like this.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a very intentional following. It wasn't random. Later on, it was confirmed by people who actually can see things that there is actually a being who stays and basically just hangs out in that
At the
area.
staircase,
At the
yeah.
staircase. So she's always staring at him when she's there.
Okay.
Yeah. So in the case of the car, you know, this girl was in the back seat playing with my sister's dog.
Yeah.
And out of nowhere, my sister's dog starts yapping. And
Okay.
she's a Pomeranian, so her yap is pretty high-pitched. And
Yeah.
she's quite vocal. And the thing is, the dog doesn't usually bark. You've met
Yes.
Lulu before.
Yeah.
She doesn't usually bark, and she's yapping and yipping away. And then the girl who's playing with the dog freaks out and then again falls silent, doesn't say anything. And when they finally get down to KL, my sister asks the girl, like, what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
And why did my dog bark? And then the girl said, oh, she was barking because a little boy had come into the car, into the back seat, and was trying to play with her, trying to play with the dog, and it was irritating the dog. So the dog was trying to bark to get that boy to go away.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And what did she do when she saw the boy?
The girl just didn't like, she's been taught not to pay attention.
Okay.
So when she sees these things, not to give too much attention to them or try to communicate or try to connect with them. So she stopped talking and then just tried to ignore what was going on so that the boy wouldn't turn his attention to her.
Poor thing. So for instances like this, what would you recommend? You know, like if you do see a spirit in the car, what what would you recommend to our watchers today?
Well, I think what she did was a very good approach, right? Which was not paying too much attention, because when they can sense that you can communicate with them or you can even see them, then it encourages them to try to communicate with you more and more and more, right? I know that a lot, like, I personally cannot really see things,
Okay.
so I know that when I can like sense something, if there is something to sense, and I start to like freak out, you know, because I'm not used to it, you know. It's not
What
not like you.
But what do you sense if you do sense? What do you
People,
experience?
people watching me, like in a room that's empty,
Uh-huh.
you know, like you get a sense that you're being watched, and that there's like a very strong pair of eyes on you, and no matter what you do, it's
You sure it's not the CCTV watching you?
pretty sure. And like I'll do everything. I'll try to distract myself, you know, like watch Netflix, watch YouTube. I'll do something,
Uh-huh.
and it just goes on, and you can't shake it until like I leave, you know. So sometimes I do realize that it might be a trick of the mind. Like maybe my fear conjures up something that's not actually there.
Okay.
But there have been number of occasions when like people like you or like Pastor Nirol or David have said, oh yeah, there's something standing there in the corner.
Okay.
Just like in the gift building. I didn't actually mention this one to you.
What?
So the gift building where we all work at the moment,
Yeah.
there's a tendency for me and a couple of other people to work quite late.
Mm-hmm.
So there was one night when I work late and I'm like the last one there, I try and leave as quickly as possible because I feel that there's something in there.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was just me,
Okay.
but I recently found out that it's not. So there was one night when I was at the pantry washing up, and then I was done, and then I left.
Okay.
And one of your team members happened to be there at the time, and then she bid me good night, Pastor Gina, I'll see you tomorrow and everything. So I went back, and then about half an hour later, I got a text from her,
Uh-huh.
and then she texts me and she says, "Did you come back into the gift building?" And I said, "No, I didn't. Why?" And then she said, "Oh, because I heard a female voice from your desk area saying Jean I. And when I turned around, I didn't see anyone there." And then I immediately knew that she was talking about something, because I already felt that I was being watched. And then now this lady's hearing voices, you know. So
Wait, I'm confused. So she saw you. She thought she saw you at the desk.
she heard me. She heard a female voice from my desk area saying Jean I.
Okay.
Yeah. And she jumped because she thought I had left the gift building already. She thought I had gone back to sleep. So she freaked out because she thought she was all alone. Then she hears this voice.
Okay.
And so she texts me and asked me, did I come back? And I said, no, I didn't. Why? And she explains the whole thing to me. I immediately knew that it was whatever it was. I thought had been watching me. So she was freaking out. So I texted her and I said, oh, you know, sometimes when my laptop disconnects from my Bluetooth speaker, it says, Jean I's laptop disconnected. Maybe that's what you heard. And then the lady, like our colleague, our Dharma sister, believed me, and she said, oh, okay then, I feel much better about that.
Oh no.
A few days later,
Yeah.
Pastor Nirol tells us that there is actually a female being in that area who's quite mischievous and likes to make herself known, and likes to poke him on the shoulder and so on, and that was probably what our Dharma sister heard. So yeah, I mean, there have been incidents like that where
Yes.
people I feel like something's watching me, and then
Correct.
yeah,
There is
Nirol-
something there.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
This is before we moved in. I forgot what happened. I think it was Karen. She was talking to me or something, and then it was talking about the gift building. And then all of a sudden, as she was talking, all of a sudden I saw in my mind's eye, there is a lady walking back and forth in a gift building. very strong. As she was talking about
Yeah.
the gift building, that sense just came, and I said, "Oh," because I've been there all the time.
Yes.
I've never felt anything.
Yep.
And I asked her. I said, "Have you ever felt something there?" And she's like, "What? What? What do you feel? What do you feel?" I was like, It's like, "Do you know there's a presence there?" And I think she kind of guessed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so because things do happen. Yeah, see, now Minky's going to be scared now.
Sorry.
He's not going to go there at work at night.
Make sure the sun's still up.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
So did you pray for this spirit?
I mean, yeah. She's there all the time. You know, all of us are doing our sadhanas in the gift building. We're doing our prayers. We're making offerings at our desk altar. All of us have a desk altar.
Yeah.
Yeah. But personally, I try not to connect too much with them because it's one door that I don't need to open. I'm not as brave as you. I'll just put it out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, she has been there for a while. It's been a while. But mischievous. She has not poked me.
Nero said that she has tapped him on the shoulder in the daytime.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah.
So sunlight doesn't save you, yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's very mischievous. Okay, well, yeah. So that was the Karak Highway incident, which I find it very fascinating because definitely there are some areas, and as I'm driving, and I do notice that it's a bit eerie.
Yeah.
Not because it's dark, but there's just this certain energy, and hence there's been a lot of there's always car accidents there.
Yeah.
Right. So interesting. Okay. And so that's Karak Highway. And you told me that when we were in LA with Rinpoche, our first house that we rented,
Yeah.
it was a great house, beautiful views,
Yes.
but
there was a friend.
there was another friend.
There was a friend, and I wasn't anticipating said friend because the house was very well lit, and the common understanding is that if there's a lot of natural sunlight, it doesn't allow for negative energies to linger in a place, right? So I mean, since it was a new build, I thought,
Yeah.
And then, as true to my habit of working late at night, I was working downstairs. I actually set up a desk next to the dining table downstairs,
Mhm.
and I would work there until basically everyone had gone to sleep. And then from the kitchen, I would see a girl wearing a Victorian dress.
You actually saw her.
I saw her. From the corner of my eye, I saw her.
Okay.
And she would walk this way, and I couldn't see her face. Like, I could see that she had her hair done up. I could see that she had her dress on, and she had like a lace collar that went around. And she would walk, and then as soon as I turned my head to see her, it would disappear. And then when I went back down to my computer again, I would see her come again,
Uh-huh.
and then I turn again, and then there would be nothing there. And it happened for a few nights until I stopped working downstairs. And then I didn't know. I thought it was my imagination. And then a short while later, you guys talked about something watching you in the
shower.
In the shower, yeah. So
Yeah, we were talking about it. I think in if you watch one of my episodes, I was talking about this same house, and there was this little girl, who would come in, and as I'm showering, would just like stand there. And because I shared a room with another colleague, and we would use the same bathroom, so I think it was just over a meal or something, and I was just wondering, do you guys feel anything, or is it just me? And I think it was from that conversation, because he doesn't feel anything,
nothing.
but he said that he felt like he was being watched,
Yeah.
as well,
Yeah.
right?
And he said that from that that incident, he developed this phobia of washing his hair because he would have to close his eyes. And he was so afraid that when he opened his eyes and like cleared the shampoo out of his eyes and he looked up, there would be something looking down at him.
That's dramatic.
So he said he stopped closing his eyes when he washed his hair.
Oh no.
And then then when you confirm that there is someone there, yeah.
Yeah, because she didn't appear when we moved in. It was only much later that I noticed that she kept coming in, and it was just this, it was just this little girl again. I think yeah, she was like this height,
Yep.
like I think blonde hair, if not mistaken, and she was just running around. She was just bored. Like how kids are, just running around, just looking at what you're doing, and then leaving. Yeah, so yeah, but I didn't see the Victorian
Exactly
dress.
like what you said. The way she walked, it was kind of like looking around the corner to see.
Just curious,
Yeah,
right?
it was
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Just it's a curiosity I don't want to deal with.
But I did chant prayers. I
Yeah.
mean, I did my prayers to bless her, so that because in our Buddhist belief, when we do prayers and when we dedicate to the spirits, then the time that is spent in the spirit world would be lessened. Yeah, so because that's it's not me who has the power, it is the prayers that have the power. Yeah, so that's what we do. Wait, so before we continue, let's see if there are any questions. Hi Andrew, hi Suzanne, Chung, hello, hi Christina. Thank you for the flying kiss. Kirsten, Karak Highway, there's a Kampong Bunyan. What's a Kampong Bunyan? What's a Bunyan?
Don't know. Is it a location?
What's that, Kirsten? Can you explain? I've not heard of Bunyan. Hi Nancy. Oh, Goblin's Village. She said Goblin. Really? There's a Goblin's Village?
Never heard of it.
I've heard of Orang Pendek, right? Because Lee Kim did a show at in her it's a Lee Kim is one of our members who was a host on TV for a show called Paranormal Zone,
Yeah.
right? And there were accounts of dwarfs that reside in the jungles of Johor, I think it was. Was it Johor?
Johor and actually Indonesia as well.
And Indonesia. And there are these dwarfs that would be wandering around. So there were accounts that people actually see them. So she actually went deep into the jungle to look for them. Yeah, so that's one of these episodes. And perhaps one day I'll get to interview her. Yeah, and it'll be a lot of fun. Okay, let me see. Well, there's a lot of people who are joining today. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for tuning in. Where's GB? Gift Building is actually next to Wisdom Hall. It's called Gift Building because it was a building that we used to store all the offerings that people gave to Rinpoche, and then from there Rinpoche would actually give it to other people whom he think would benefit from these gifts. Yeah, so that's where it is. Yiman, hi JP and Passage and I. If we felt a sudden gust of cold wind when all the doors and windows are closed and neither the air conditioner or fan is on, does that mean that the spirit is around? How about warm energy that is felt even in an air-conditioned room?
I actually have a story about the cold gust of wind.
Okay.
This took place when my grandmother passed away. So Rinpoche, this was in the early 2000s, and Rinpoche very kindly went to Penang to do her last rites and to conduct her funeral ceremony. And it was, for whatever reason, it was a really searingly hot day. It was, I can't remember a day as hot as that, basically.
Okay.
And we know from most funeral parlors, it tends to be really, really, really warm, especially those traditional ones, right?
Yeah.
So Rinpoche was sitting there doing the prayers and doing the puja and everything, and my grandmother's coffin was, let's say, here, and maybe about 20, 30 meters away, there was, at the back of the funeral parlor, there was a door, and the door was wide open. And as Rinpoche was doing the prayers, a gust of wind suddenly kicked up, and the door slammed shut. And we hadn't had wind for like 2 or 3 days because it was just so warm. And then when Rinpoche heard that, Rinpoche immediately said, "Oh, she's left and she's gone to take a rebirth."
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
So Rinpoche, throughout the funeral ceremony, had actually advised us that her mind is still around and that there are other beings around, and not to cry because she's very close with all of us. and that crying would encourage her to stay, to try and check up on us and to see if we're okay, and that would actually impede her or delay her taking rebirth, basically.
Okay.
So Rinpoche said, don't cry, because her mind is still around. And when the door slammed shut, Rinpoche said, okay, now you guys can cry, basically, because she's gone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So, when Yiman says,
Yes.
this sudden gust of cold wind, when all the doors and windows are closed,
I think
does
she's-
that mean the spirit is around?
I would not be able to answer that. I mean, I would assume that she's talking about like a change in temperature that is unexplainable, whether
Okay.
it's high or low. I would think
Have
so.
you
I mean,
experienced that?
not temperature changes. I've experienced changes in smell.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
okay. I will answer that then.
Yeah.
Definitely, if you feel again with the same thing with the smell, it's just that one position, or it's just that you just feel just a little gust of chill. Yeah, it's just coming your way and then goes away. That is an indication that there's a spirit around you. Sometimes that we will also feel warmth. I have experienced that
Okay.
as well. Just something very warm. It's like
Yeah.
it's like a gust of warmth coming. That my feeling when I get that is something that is peaceful. Something, it's not a spirit, but I think it is a higher being
Okay.
that is coming.
Warmth.
Just it's not hot, it's not heat,
Yep.
but just warm enough that you know that there's something there, and it
Right.
just comes and it just goes, almost like brushing, you. But that chill will usually give you that goosebumps, and
send a shiver up your spine type.
sometimes if it is very malevolent,
Okay.
it will do that.
Okay.
And you just feel very uneasy and very unsettled.
Yeah.
But usually if that happens, Iman, I would actually do my prayers already. Yeah, I will do my prayers and I will bless them to calm them. Yeah, because again, that is just a way of the spirits trying to get our attention. Yeah, because they will know whether or not we have the karma to connect to them, be it hearing them, seeing them, or feeling them. They know that we can connect to them. Yeah, so if you have never experienced anything like this, then if you don't have the karma, then like I say all the time, even if they're standing right next to you, you won't feel a thing. So you don't have to freak out.
So
Okay.
no temperature changes for me.
Yeah, so it is very, very, yes, definitely it is different because it'll come and it'll go. It's basically trying to make their presence known, you know? That's all.
The smell thing,
Yeah,
it actually took place when I was in England.
okay.
So I was doing my third year final exams, like my final exams for university.
Okay.
And I was revising, and then I suddenly smelled very strongly in my room. The windows were closed, the door was shut, and I suddenly smelled very strongly Malta Guinness and cigarettes.
Mm.
And that smell is, I associate with my grandfather. I only think of him when I smell that instantly, because he drank Malta Guinness every single night
Okay.
and smoked cigarettes every single day for like 20, 30 years.
Wow.
You know? So when I smelled that, immediately I thought of him, and I thought, that's weird, because there's nothing in my room that would prompt that smell.
Okay.
And it felt weird, but I was trying to not fail my exam, so I kind of put it out of my mind. And then about an hour later, my then boyfriend came in, and he was in a complete state. He was crying, his eyes were red, his face was puffy, and he was heaving because he was crying so hard. And I looked at him I was like, what happened?
Yeah.
And then he said, through his tears, he said, everyone told me not to tell you this. Everyone told me to keep it from you until after your exams. But I didn't think that it was right for me not to tell you. About an hour ago, your grandfather passed away. And that was
Oh.
actually when I had smelt him.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and it was unmistakable. So instantly, when I put, what my boyfriend told me,
Yeah.
together with what I smelled, instantly I knew it was correct. And then I just like started crying. So when I told Rinpoche about that, Rinpoche said that as a result of my grandfather's actions and behavior throughout his life, actually he hadn't taken a good rebirth.
Okay.
And that smell that I so strongly associated with him was him coming to let me know that he was basically very attached to me. He loved me a lot, so he came to see how I was and what I was doing. Yeah, but Rinpoche said that he hadn't actually taken a very good rebirth.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he came to see you immediately after he passed away.
As soon as he passed away.
Okay.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean Malta Guinness, and it's quite a specific, smell.
Well, because that's how, because whatever that they've been attached to.
Yeah. Exactly.
So so they're gonna cling on to that.
Yes.
And well, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah. It was very distinct. And then my mother actually told me that when she was driving my granddad's car after the funeral, she drove his car down from Penang to KL, and while she was driving the car that again he was very attached to, the same smell like went past her.
What, the Malta Guinness?
The Malta Guinness and cigarette smell.
Oh, no.
So it's very strong. So if you guys smell that, maybe my grandfather came to look you up.
That's interesting. Okay. Yiman says, yes, felt the warmth when doing sauna. Chill was in the washroom. Chill was in the washroom. Yeah, possible. Definitely possible. Ananda. Hi, Ananda. Was it true that I was almost attacked by spirits when I visited the cemetery at a time when I was under the weather? That I don't know, Ananda. I don't know whether or not you were attacked by spirits. Okay, I cannot tell. Okay, I'm sorry. I need to be there. When it happens, then I'll be able to tell you. Okay, so now we have more stories. Let me see. So that was the LA experience.
First house.
The first house. And then we moved to another house in LA.
Yes.
And then that was a really haunted one, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there was a really haunted one, which again, in one of my episodes, I was talking about how when we were moving, you see, because when we're in LA, we're just, renting from one house to another because, the lease was up and, it was just a lot of things. So we just had to move.
It's very nomadic.
Yeah, it was very nomadic, and we become professional packers, so as a result. So I was the one. So I was left behind because one of our colleagues had to go back to Malaysia because she was staying there for a few months already, and she had to go back. So nobody wanted to stay back in that one particular house because we were halfway packing. So because we all knew that it was really haunted. So I said, fine, I'll stay. So I stayed in the house alone, and it was in a room that Pastor Sing Piao was staying. And it was in that room, and the one, and that little storage room where we put all the gifts, that's very, very haunted. So I just didn't care.
Oh, then actually, yes, temperature changed because that gift room was freezing all the time.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Right?
No matter what heating you turn on, it was so cold.
If you go in, it's almost like you stepped into another zone.
Yes.
And it's just that one area.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Right. Yeah, it's just that chill.
Yeah.
So in that episode, I was saying that when I was falling asleep, then I saw this green blob just like coming right through the window and then pressing on me, right? So that was that house. And before that, when we moved in, well, no, not even before we moved in, I just went the second time with the agent to do just to do an inventory of the house. The roof tile fell. It was that house. So anyway, you were working, and then tell us what happened.
Oh gosh. What I remember from that house is a black shadow that would go from the gift room across the corridor into Pastor Singhel's toilet and then back again.
Yes.
Over and over
Over
again.
Yeah.
And I remember that house having a really creepy cellar that nobody ever wanted to go into, and like we would basically just dump what we had in and put it inside, and then like turn around and run back out. And then later on, it was confirmed that there is a malevolent energy present in that cellar. So.
And who confirmed it for you?
Pastor Nirol.
Pastor Nirol?
Yeah. Pastor
What
Nirol.
did he tell you?
Pastor Nirol said that the first time or the only time that he went down there and he went into the cellar, he felt something so strong and so malevolent that he could not, he just did not want to be in that vicinity, and he left immediately after. And then that colleague of ours that like doesn't feel anything was left behind to like do whatever it was in the cellar because he doesn't sense anything. So yeah.
Poor thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so you saw all this, right? And then
Yeah.
and then you were saying there's something about a letter.
Yeah. So I actually talked about this in one of my videos.
Okay.
So it used to be common practice for us, as you will know, for many years.
Yeah.
Whenever people make offerings to Rinpoche and it's accompanied by a letter or with a card, we would usually open the mail and see what the correspondence is.
Okay.
Basically to filter out anything that might be inappropriate. So, as per usual, that one evening, when we received the offerings, or we received mail in this case, I started opening the mail. Just normal, laid out everything as per normal. And then when the appropriate time came, I brought the offerings into Rinpoche's room to show Rinpoche, and then I just left it there. Shortly after that, Rinpoche calls everyone into the room and then asks in a very forceful manner who opened these letters.
Okay.
So I put my hand up because that's what I did. I opened the letters. So I said, Rinpoche, I opened the letters. And then with that, Rinpoche got very, very fierce. So Rinpoche started to raise his voice at me and started asking me, who told you could open my letters? So my first thought was, but we've always done it this way, you know. So I said, Rinpoche, that was the instruction I previously received. And then Rinpoche kept asking me, or shouting at me basically, and saying things like, I never told you could open my letters. Who gave you permission to open my letters? So after a while, like 1-2 minutes of this, it seemed kind of pointless to keep saying, but Rinpoche, that's the standard procedure.
Okay.
So Rinpoche kept raising his voice, and then Rinpoche asked, do you know what's attached to this letter? And I told Rinpoche, no, I don't. I don't know what's attached to the letter. And then Rinpoche said, did you not see the skulls that were drawn on this letter? And I said, yes, Rinpoche, I saw the skulls. That's why I thought I should open it. Because no one draws skulls on an offering that they present to a lama.
It was on an envelope or on the letter?
On the envelope itself.
On the envelope, okay.
Yeah. So like when I turned the envelope to its back, along the bottom of the opening, there were like 5 or 6 skulls drawn there, and it was like skulls and crossbones, like the pirate type.
Wow. Okay.
So I thought maybe a kid had done it. I don't know. So I opened it, and then Rinpoche said that Rinpoche repeated again, do you know what's attached to the letter? And I said, Rinpoche, the letter says that whoever is sending this mail is sending a jinn, a being, to Rinpoche, and that this jinn is basically supposed to help or accomplish something, or some. It was very vague. The letter was very vague, but it didn't have such a nice feeling to it. So Rinpoche said, yes, there is something attached to this letter. You should not have opened it. And I knew Rinpoche was right, okay? But at the same time, I was also thinking, I can't see stuff, so I wouldn't have known that there was a jinn. And then Rinpoche just kept, shouting, and then Rinpoche then said, get out! So I left. And then a short while later, Rinpoche called me back in. Again, shouting at me. And then Rinpoche then said, you're always causing so much trouble. You should not have opened my letters. I never give you permission to open my letters. In the future, do not open any of my letters.
Okay.
And that's actually why now we don't open letters, right? So then Rinpoche said, I'm going to have to do so many things to help you because now this being is not going to disturb me, it's going to disturb you. Then Rinpoche explained that sometimes beings that are bound or have to serve a master of some sort, when they make a bond or a commitment to fulfill a particular task or particular assignment, they have to do it, and if they don't, they suffer, they get punished somehow. Like Rinpoche didn't elaborate how.
But they're bound to the master.
They're bound to the master.
It's something like black magic, whereby these shamans, they would actually they would actually keep these spirits to work for them. So if their clients hire them to perform black magic, to control someone, to hurt someone, that's where they send these spirits. So they are bound in that sense. So it's true, yeah. So that's correct, yeah.
So then Rinpoche explained that this particular being had made a promise to his master, as in the being's original master, to extract something from Rinpoche, and that since this being would not be able to harm Rinpoche, it would harm the people who are close to Rinpoche. In this case, it would be me because I'm the one who opened the letter, right?
Yes.
So Rinpoche then did a ritual called Gakko, and then Rinpoche basically formed a seal of protection around me, and then Rinpoche gave very specific instructions to burn the letter and all the offerings that accompanied that letter, together with incense, protected incense, and together with protected rice. And then Rinpoche said that every single iota of ash has to be taken out and removed and then buried far, far away, because it should not come back. And as Rinpoche was giving these instructions, then Rinpoche shouted, "Get out!" So I again thought that Rinpoche was talking to me. So I started to turn to leave, right? And then someone next to me goes, "Hey, Rinpoche's not talking to you." And then I was like, "Huh? What?" Then the person was like, "Rinpoche's talking to the being." And I was like, "Oh, right. Okay." Then Rinpoche goes, "Get out!" And then Rinpoche said, "Get out! Stand at the gate! Do not come through this gate! If you come through this gate, you see what happens to you!" And
the being.
To the being. Rinpoche was yelling to the being, but facing me. So all this while, I thought, I'm the one who's supposed to get out, right? But it wasn't. Then Rinpoche kept ordering the being to get out, and then said that it does not have permission to step through the gates, and that if anything happens to any of the people who are around Rinpoche, that something would happen to the being, So later on, it was all the instructions were carried out. So the incense, the offerings were burnt and everything. And then after all that was done, Rinpoche called us all back into the room. And then this time, totally changed. It was like Rinpoche was like completely normal, back to normal, laughing, joking, very jovial, and very relaxed. And it was like this suddenly turned around, and I was sitting there a little bit like stunned about what had happened, because it's the first time that anything's quote unquote attached itself to me, right? And then later on, Rinpoche explained, and it was explained to me as well, that the reason why Rinpoche had been so wrathful to me was to break my connection with this being, to purify the karma and connection that had been created as a result of me opening the letter. So Rinpoche had to have me experience the fear and the worry and the confusion and everything, so that I would purify the karma that would have allowed that being to help me. So Rinpoche was extremely quick in implementing methods of protection for me. And the thing was, and Rinpoche actually explained that if I hadn't been with Rinpoche for so many years, Rinpoche would not have been able to do that, because someone else would have just probably left the room.
Yes. Well, that's what happens. See, because, and that's just one of the experiences that we always have with Rinpoche. And for a Buddhist master of Rinpoche's caliber, definitely Rinpoche would do things that are very subtle. So if we don't, and if you look at Rinpoche's actions normally, like exactly what Pastor Jin and I said, it's like, why are you shouting at me? And because I don't feel that there's any black magic done, done onto the letter and all that. So it takes a high level Buddhist master like our Rinpoche to actually purify that, and it's part of the tantric practice whereby they use the voice to do all this so that you purify and you don't have to do all these rituals, and that's usually what happens. It's really fascinating to when we have the opportunity to work around Rinpoche and all the things that we see in the movies, like how you do exorcism. And remember, I was telling you, Rinpoche's exorcism is actually talking to the spirit as though he's just giving advice, and there was none of these rituals and like these dramatic stuff that they use, and in the name of whatever, get out. Rinpoche doesn't do that, and that was really fascinating. That's really fascinating. So I think I was there. I was busy doing something. I was there and I heard Rinpoche shouting at you in the room.
Yeah.
I think I was cooking outside. You see, because there was only a handful of us, so everyone had to do everything, from admin work, to cooking, cleaning, everything, gardening, So we took turns. And I remember I was cooking outside and Rinpoche was shouting at you about something, and you were so devastated because you didn't know what was happening. But I didn't really quite get the full story until much later that I found out that there was a spirit attached to the letter, and I was like, wow. Because I find such things fascinating. But I think it's because you brought in the letter that day.
Yeah.
So happened you went out to bring the letter, because if I had brought in the letter, I would have opened it. And God knows what's going to happen when I open it, because because my portal to the spirit world, it's like I have just this very clear connection. So God knows what happens. So thank goodness that my karma was purified, that it was my turn to cook and not my turn to get the letters. So it was your karma to do that. Yeah, I do remember, but I wasn't in the room to listen to what exactly, but I heard from outside. So I was like, okay, I wonder what's up, And then I was told later. Yeah, that was really interesting. Do we have any questions so far? Let me see. Kirsten, the Malays and Bomos told me that it's Goblin's village there. Another kind of beings. Oh, this is in Bentong, right? What was it called? Bentong. Kampong what?
Bunya.
Let me look again. Kampong Bunyan, Goblin's village. Okay. They're not spirits. They are just like us, but we can't see them unless accidentally we cross paths with them. Sometimes we heard news like someone got lost somewhere and found later around the same area. That's because they accidentally went into their dimension. The one day equivalent to a 1 week. Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Happened to my dad.
Happened to your dad?
Yeah.
That 1 day was actually 1 week?
It turned out to be 2 days. He thought that it was 20 minutes, but he was actually missing for 2 days.
What?
Yeah. It happened in Taman Negara when he was much younger.
Oh yeah, in Taman Negara I hear that people get lost very easily.
Yep.
Yeah. But there's a way though. I was told by a friend of mine, this actual friend of mine who actually went, he was a teenager, and just walking around the forest reserve in Taman Negara, and and for some reason they couldn't get out, and they're just going round and round in circles. And what they did was, and they knew they were running around in circles because they actually did markings on the tree trunk,
right.
And they just found themselves going back and back and back, and they knew that they were under some sort of a spell.
Right.
So they were smart because they were told that in the event that you are trapped in this forest, you just pee.
Okay.
Yeah. So they dropped the pants.
Yeah.
And they peed.
Yeah.
And then they continue like just navigating as usual, and they got out.
Oh.
So the key here is to pee. I don't know how that works, but that's what was told. And I've heard this many times as a kid, like every time when you're lost in a jungle and you know something's not right, you just pee.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know the logic behind that. But now that we're Buddhists, we're not going to do that. We're just going to do our prayers
Yeah.
to repel. Yeah, to repel and to appease. Well, it's to repel the malevolent spirits, but if it is just mischievous spirits, we're just naughty, then they will just appease them. Yeah, and usually we do Doyoshiden, what else?
Singdoma.
Singdoma,
Yeah.
Dukar. Yeah, the usual. Okay, so let me continue what Kirsten wrote. They are just like us, but we can't see them unless accidentally we cross paths with them. So sometimes we heard news like someone got lost somewhere and found later around the same area. That's because they accidentally went to that dimension, the one day equivalent to our 1 week. That's why car accidents frequently happen over there. Some cars knocked an invisible cow or something and saw someone cross the road or sitting on the signboard. That's why we have to drive carefully along the road. You may knock the invisible chicken or cow or goats or them and got them angry.
Oh.
Yeah, joke aside, that's what I was told by many Malays. The Malay truck drivers who frequent the road will tell you too. What? So this Kampong Bunyan is actually along Karak Highway? Is that what you're saying, Kirsten? That's interesting.
Yeah.
So be careful if you see a cow.
Or chicken.
Or chicken. Okay, so Pastor Rao says, this sounds similar to stories about fairies and fairy rings. If you step inside the ring, you disappear for some time and then come back with no memory of what happened. Some people, however, remember being trapped in a loop again and again. That's exactly what happens, and it's very common in Malaysia, because Malaysians like to go hiking, and it's always, and I was always told, because I remember, I think when I was going for school, we went camping. And there were like 40-50 of us, and my mom always said, if you're lost in the jungle, just remember to pee, and you'll be fine.
The funny thing, right, is that I was told don't pee because you upset something, and then you'll get stuck. So like when I went jungle trekking, the orang asli told me,
don't pee, is it?
Apologize like before you like pass.
Because of the nagas. Because well, you see, because this is only if you're lost then you pee. But if you are in the jungle or in nature, don't simply pee or poo or spit in nature, because there are nature spirits, and there are, especially there's this form of spirits called nagas. They're like in a serpent realm. So and they like to reside in water, trees, plants. So when we're kids, well, exactly what you say. When you really have to pee, you have to say, "Oh, excuse me, I'm going to pee," so that when you do, so that they will not disturb you or attack you later on. Yeah, because my cousin forgot when he was a kid, and I heard from my aunt that my poor cousin couldn't pee after that.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so can you imagine, you're like full of pee, but you couldn't let it out.
Oh my God.
And then they immediately, because my aunt is a Taoist,
yes.
So as all Taoists do, they go to the temple and they ask the medium what happened, and the medium told her that because he offended a Naga, because he didn't ask for permission before he peed. Yeah, my poor cousin. And he was this kid, so I just found it fascinating. I was like, okay, that's what, and then my mom turned around and was like, okay, remember to say excuse me. I was like, okay. And we were kids then. Yeah.
Well, when I first heard it, I thought that there was a part of me that thought that, because we went to international school, so we thought that maybe they were pulling our leg and like trying to prank us, because then you have like 30 kids all apologizing to the wielders. I'm so sorry, I don't mean to offend you, I want to pee, That we thought they were like trying to like make us look like idiots. But luckily, because of everything that Rumche explained about the existence of unseen beings, like I was like, okay, no. Even if I look like an idiot, it's worth the risk. I'm not upsetting somebody.
Definitely. Because remember, in my previous episodes, even our guards,
yes,
and just because they were plucking the mangosteen fruit, I saw them climbing.
Yeah.
And the next thing I knew, half their face was paralyzed. and he was in a lot of pain, and he went to see the doctor, and he was taking medication, and it didn't help. So Rinpoche found out about it, and Rinpoche said, "Oh, that he offended the Nagas,
Right.
that were residing here." So he just had to recite Dorje mantras every day, and within a week, he was back to normal. So that's why we had to tell them to be careful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So be careful. Yeah, when you guys go out.
So it's ask for permission to pee,
Yeah.
but pee if you're lost.
Yes. Pee if you're lost.
Okay.
You can try it. Okay. I've not been lost in the forest, so I can't vouch for it. So but you can try that. Okay, the village. Kirsten says that the village is nearby Karak Highway, less than 2 kilometers away. Interesting. Maybe we should do an episode there. Yeah.
Post MCO
We will
expedition.
bring Lee Kim. We'll bring Lee Kim there because I was thinking of doing an episode with Lee Kim because she has a lot of these fascinating stories, and she goes to all these places with they're haunted and have all these paranormal activities. So it'd be interesting to interview her so that she can personally share with us about her experience. And Kevin Shari says, "Will doing churt help?" Well, churt, if you do the practice well, the practice of churt does help, but it's not because of that. You see, the practice of churt would you like to expound on that?
Go ahead.
Okay. The practice of churt actually, it's a practice where you invoke spirits to come. And it's supposed to help you lessen your ego when that happens. And then the practice also helps is to bless them. So because of our ego, a lot of times when all these beings come, thousands of them, the peaceful ones and the really scary ones, they all come because you're invoking them to come. The benefit of that is of course to bless them and also to help us lessen our ego, because a lot of times when you start experiencing these spirits, and demons will come as well, and they're extremely powerful and malevolent. So if you are very attached to your self-cherishing mind, what do I mean by that? The only reason why we are afraid of it is because, what are we afraid of? We are afraid of them killing us, because they do have the potential to kill us. So in Buddhism, it is taught that when we are so attached to preserving our life, okay, this body, preserving it is a form of attachment, and this churt practice help us to actually let go of that. Because why? We believe that, we take on a different body every lifetime. So it is part of a practice of being selfless. So when we are when we eventually become totally selfless, that's where this churt practice actually helps us attain that. Okay, it's just one of the practices. So when they come, yes, but you see, churt is for a different reason. So we usually don't do churt to repel them. It's just for our own practice. But definitely, if you're a churt practitioner, and if you are quote unquote successful with it, definitely, it will help. Definitely, it's not for everyone. So for those of you, please who hear about this churt, don't go and Google it and then start practicing it, because you do not want to start invoking them.
And the thing is, they actually definitely do come, because there was a ritual that Rinpoche did in Haven, in the Haven days. It was the Gakko ritual actually, and there was one part of the ritual when Rinpoche had to call spirits up, and that girl that I mentioned previously who can see beings, she said that at that exact moment, these dark black shadows, screaming, ear-piercing screams, started rising from the floor. And she said she could see them all coming, and she was terrified because we were all supposed to sit there quietly, not moving, so that Rinpoche could bless us one by one. And at that moment when everything started coming from the floor, she freaked out. She said she had to close her eyes because it was too much to see already. And they came from all directions. And then Rinpoche, as part of the ritual, actually gave them all something to consume or something to eat and then send them all away. But she said it was like when the word came out, immediately they appeared. Yeah, she said
Exactly.
they definitely come. Yeah.
So that's why if you are not a master of chud, I would really not advise that. Okay, because it can backfire most likely. Yeah. Okay. Audrey, does not only happen in the forest. I was trapped in a building with a non-existent floor once.
Oh my god.
Really, Audrey?
Why?
I think you did tell me that, right? And then I gave you a chakra for protection. Was it that experience that you called me? Because I remember my cousin in Singapore, she freaked out because she was in an elevator.
Right.
And is it that? Well, if you don't mind, just share this because I forgot. And she was I've never seen her so scared.
Yeah.
And she had to call me up and say, "Can you please help me?" I was like, "What?" So I gave her a chakra.
Yes.
A chakra is actually some scriptures that we have in Kechara, where it's prepared by monks, and they fold it into these squares, and it's tied with strings. I think in one of my episodes, 2 episodes ago, I spoke about protection, so you can get that. So I gave her one, and it helped. It helped a lot because she has that karmic affinity, like me, to attract.
It seems to be hereditary.
Yeah. Yeah. So okay. Kristen said, "Yes, Pastor Noel, they're like fairies according to the Malay belief that they look like us, not like Tinkerbell.
Yeah.
They look like us." Ananda, is church similar to a Hungry Ghost Festival? Would there be more spirits wandering or roaming the street? Do they look like human? No, church is just a practice. Church is a practice where they use the damaru, which is this ritual is a drum which is huge. It's this big. It's huge. And this drum, when they're playing it, they're actually invoking all the spirits to come. Okay, I'm not going to do it because I can feel them already. So, I don't know church. It's just a practice. Okay, so when you start invoking them, they will come. You know, like how you hear about Thai monks, they go to the cemetery, and they sit there and they do their meditation. Yeah. Again, that is very advanced level meditation. It is not that you are wishing on people to die. It's not that. It is to actually let go of the fear of protecting ourselves from dying. Okay, it's letting go of that last aspect of of what we call the self-cherishing mind, and that's actually very powerful to be selfless. It's a very powerful practice. Yeah, so chud is a name of a practice.
And
all right?
I think just to add, it's very important to note that we should only engage in the practice when we've been instructed to by our teachers, not to just simply test our mindful morning meditation skill by going to the cemetery to see if,
This is very advanced. We do not do it because we are curious.
Yeah.
This must be conferred to us by our teacher, who is a qualified church practitioner. This is like PhD level. Okay, we're like kindergarten, so let's not even go there. Yeah, let's not go there because it will backfire. Many people are very curious, and you know what the saying is, right? Curiosity kills the cat. So there you go. Audrey says, "Yes, you happened to call me that night." Yes, I remember. For some reason that night, I called you. You just came to my mind, and I called you, and then you were so worried, and I was worried for you. Yeah, I remember that. Okay. Still have it. Yes, the chakra. Keep it. It is very good for you, yeah, Audrey. Especially when you drink. That's where your energy, depletes, and that's where you need a lot of protection. It does help. So for those of you who drink alcohol, and you have the affinity with these spirits, definitely wearing these kind of blessed items would actually protect you. Oh, the time is already up. Time flies. Wow. Okay, so we'll just take I think last 2 comments. Agnes says, when I was very young, I always experienced something was pressing on me. I'm conscious, but I cannot move and cannot get up. Yes, there are certain spirits that will always press on us, right? So the best is to put a Dukar image, as I said, above your headboard. An image of Dukar, Dukkar, print it, put it above you, and you'll be fine. Okay, and David Chu. I had a colleague who went missing for 2 hours when I was working in a building downtown KL. Oh, okay. We start work early at 5:30 a.m., but it wasn't like her not to be late. So we couldn't find her, and checking on the lift didn't show anything. Later, she showed up and said she was stuck in the lift for the 2 hours, but a CCTV from the security department showed an empty lift. That's spooky. Oh, thank you very much, David, for sharing that. That's so spooky. I love it. Carmen Leong, chakra and Buddha pendant will bring same protection? Yes, definitely. Same protection. Because some people not, they don't like wearing things around the neck. So they can just wear this, put this chakra in the pocket, or or in your handbag.
Or like if you're in an environment that says that you can't wear religious iconography, then the chakra will blend in much better than a Buddha pendant.
Yeah, so same thing. Okay. Yes, so I think time's up. So thank you very much, Pastor Jinai. So I hope that you enjoyed our session today. There's actually a few more that you can share. So perhaps if you're free, then we can continue next Thursday. All right, so have a great week ahead. And for those of you who joins me every Saturday and Sunday for my meditation class, I'll see you guys then. Yeah, it's at 8:30 a.m. Malaysian time. All right, good night and rest well. Bye-bye.